Oh, I see red pop up. There we are. We got a forum. Okay. Good evening. The August 28th, 2025, Whatcom County Planning Commission meeting is called to order. I'll call the roll. Melvin Barton, that's me, I'm here. Red Brown,
Yeah.
Daniel Dunn,
Yes.
Anita Eisenberg, Nicholas Gregg, Jim Hansen, Julie Jefferson, Dominic Masseri,
Here.
Scott Van Dalen.
Here.
Please join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, it's time now for the department update.
Colin, you got Senator and Nicholas have just joined.
I can't hear.
Did Nick just join?
Sunita.
Oh, thank you. For the
Sunita.
record, Nicholas Gregg just logged in.
Anthony.
Oh, and Anita Eisenberg. Great.
Here.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Personius, go ahead.
Thank you, commissioners. Good evening. Just a schedule update for you. Tonight is public hearing on the economic development element, chapter 7 of the comp plan. Tyler Schroeder will be has joined us too. If there are any particular questions on that. There will be, just a heads up, your next meeting is September 11th. And that will be city and county UGA proposals formally presented to you for public hearing. On September 11th, that will include Blaine, Everson, Nooksack, Sumas, Birch Bay, and Columbia Valley. And then on September 25th, we'll follow with the rest of the UGA proposals, and that'll be the city of Bellingham, Ferndale, city of Linden, Cherry Point UGA proposal, and the rural and resource lands proposal of the unincorporated county.
We've got that joint meeting, I think, on the 16th. Are we going over that stuff as well on
Yes.
that meeting?
Yes.
So how does that work if we're looking at some before, then that, then some after?
Well, both your September 11th and September 25th are formal public hearings, right? The joint meeting with the council is on September 16th. That's from 1 to 4:30 p.m. That'll be back downtown in council chambers. That will be on to hopefully finish that joint conversation you guys have been having with council on those UGA proposals. But it's just a work session, right? There's no decisions made, or it's not a hearing. But also Tyler will be presenting, we'll make a presentation on the port's industrial land study, as I mentioned at that meeting on the 16th as well. So that's your September. Actually, we've added another meeting on September 30th, which would be to come back and finish up any conversations on the climate element, chapter 12, that Lauren Clemens presented to you back on August 14th. And then if there's any follow-up on the UGA proposals or work session discussion you guys want to have about that, we'll have some time on that as well. We've reserved from 1 to 4 o'clock. Is that in this room on September 30th for you guys for that? Again, that's a work session. And then we'll resume with the other elements in October. Finish up with chapter 5 utilities, chapter 8 resource lands, and chapter 10 environment. So fun, action-packed fall planned for you. on the comp plan stuff.
Do we get overtime?
Yes, you do.
Yes, unpaid overtime.
You do.
0 times 1.5?
Yeah. Totally.
Okay. All right, the time is, it's time for open session for public comment. Eileen, would you take over, please?
Yes. Welcome to the meeting. This meeting is being broadcast live. The audio is being recorded and will be posted to the county website. As noted on our website, members of the public may watch the meeting or join online or by phone. During the open public comment session, speakers may not speak to the items that are listed for the agenda tonight for a public hearing, and that would be chapter 7 of the comp plan, economic development. And I see there's no one in the room. I will go to the attendee online. I see Reese Thorvald Hansen. Would you like to provide a public comment at this time that does not deal with tonight's public hearing? If you do so, please raise your hand. Seeing no hands raised, Commissioner Chair.
Thank you, Eileen. Time now for commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on. Approval of minutes for July 24th and August 14th, 2025.
I can make a motion that we accept them. I didn't see a problem. I'm open to.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, we're doing, the minutes for both or?
Yes.
The only thing I had. Oh, we've got a motion or a second, so we can discuss.
I second.
Sweet. The only thing I had, Eileen was on the minutes for August 14th. In my notes, I had that we're going to reword the section 12.11.5. But I don't fully remember that happening. Did you, was there anything come up in the minutes about that, or is that, I might just be making that up?
No, it was, the only thing that was discussed was Red Brown's comment for July 14th.
Okay, so nothing to 12.11.
No.
Okay. Then, I have no other comments.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Osari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
Yes, and Hampson to join.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know what we're voting on, so I abstain.
okay. And for the, just so that it's on the time for Eileen, that Commissioner Hampson has joined the meeting.
Thank you.
Sorry, folks, I somehow misplaced the link.
Passes.
Okay. So the meeting topic is then to be a public hearing and a work session. And it is the comprehensive plan update, chapter 7, economic development, and Director Mark Personia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm filling in tonight for Matt Ahmet. His son is getting married this week, so he is off with that most important work. So I'll provide a little, just basically a brief overview, just quoting from Matt's cover memo to you guys about what's in chapter 7, economic development element, and then a little bit of background on it, and then we can hold a public hearing and then discuss motions as we go through it. Generally, chapter 7 includes background information relating to labor force, employment, unemployment, median household income, the county's comprehensive economic development strategy, or it's called the SEDS. The Port of Bellingham's role as the associate development organization. And then it includes goals and policies related to diversifying the economy, public-private partnerships, coordinating and cooperation, providing infrastructure, regulations and permit processing, proximity to Canada, business retention and expansion, economic growth and environmental quality, natural resource-based industries, geographic diversity, and the local food system. The Port of Bellingham assisted with drafting many of the modifications to Chapter 7, and other comments were submitted by the Business and Commerce Advisory Committee, the Child and Family Wellbeing Task Force, the Climate Impact Advisory Committee, and the Food System Committee. And basically, besides updating that kind of that background information and the statistics and figures, it includes updated goals and policies relating to a variety of topics, including affordable housing, economic security, water rights, adjudication, infrastructure, childcare, wetland mitigation, climate resilience, and the local food system. That is what I have for the staff report.
Thank you. Tony? Commissioner?
Should we give them the public hearing?
Thank you. Yeah. Let's open the public hearing. Public hearing is open.
As stated before, this meeting is being broadcast live and will be uploaded to our website. We have one attendee online, Reese Thorvald Hansen. Do you wish to speak at this time? You will be given 3 minutes to do so.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm Reese Torvald Hansen. I'm co-director of the Whatcom Food Network, as well as chair of the Whatcom County Food System Committee. I want to share my appreciation to the planning staff for the laborious work of reconciling all of the different suggestions that came through. And the Food System Committee were really pleased, as well as the members of the Food Network, with the changes that came to particularly Goal 7L. There was one particular change that didn't make it that we wanted to make one last request for, and that was in Policy 7L concerning safe and healthy working conditions for farm workers. Excuse me. And the draft that we had put together made both through open sessions as well as a couple of community events where we solicited input from a number of community members. We wanted to extend that policy to not just be farm workers, but all food chain workers. We really appreciate the focus on farm workers as some of the most vulnerable members in our food system. But there are a number of other food chain workers, particularly folks working like in restaurants and in transportation distribution, that are going to be feeling the impacts of climate change, as well as some of the other economic distribution. And we just wanted to expand that policy, focusing on the well-being of all food chain workers, not just farm workers. One more piece that we wanted to talk is we had suggested an additional policy borrowing language from a similar policy considering the role of the Agricultural Advisory Committee in relation to the county as far as the role in advising in agricultural spaces. And we wanted to suggest similar codified language for the relationship of the Food System Committee. And it reads like this. The Food System Committee shall advise Whatcom County Executive and Council on food system issues, economics, and land use. Whatcom County shall support the Food System Committee with staff and other resources and shall recognize the committee's input with regards to decisions that impact the food system. We suggest this not to call ourselves out specifically, but just sort of to equalize our input with other committees. I'm not sure if that policy is going to be kept in land use in regards to the agricultural committee or not, because we haven't had the chance to review Chapter 7 yet. I didn't see it in the climate chapters, but we wanted to make one more ask for that to be included if possible, to stay consistent with other committees. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no other attendees online or in the room. Commissioner Chair.
Thank you, Eileen. Hey. Commissioners,
Close the public hearing.
thank you. I'm getting good reminders from. So the public hearing is closed. Now. Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, Mark, relating to the public hearing, we just heard there was a request for, I guess, staff on that committee. Is their committee have less support than other committees or what? I don't know the structure of all the committees.
I don't either. We don't staff the food system committee. I think they staff them. They have their own reporting. But we don't staff them, so I don't know.
Oh, I see. It might be a different department, not planning.
Right.
I see.
I know we've incorporated a lot of their comments and they were established formally by, I believe, by the council. So they have a ordinance that enables them to do, or directs that.
I guess if they're gonna be staff, maybe that's a county council budgetary decision.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. I know we referenced the food system plan in here and based on their recommendations, so that is recognized, and I think it references the resolution that the council passed as well. Yeah, it's actually on almost the last page, 727, you'll see the references to the food system plan that was adopted by the council in 2023. And so that is reflected here in the comp plan and in goal 7.
I've got a question for the starter, for Reese, that's my ask.
Go ahead.
Reese, this is Dan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Thanks. So you had a comment on goal 7L to add a phrase around supporting all food workers. I don't quite see where that fits in. Could you point me to, is it goal 7L? Is it one of the policies?
Yeah, it's one of the policies, 7L9.
7L9.
Next page.
Last page.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, so currently it reads, support healthy and safe work conditions as well as healthy, safe living conditions for farm workers. And your suggestion is to say that for all food workers instead of just farm workers?
We would like to leave farm workers explicitly, but add and other food chain workers.
And their food chain workers, that sounds fine to me. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to add other food chain workers. Is there any discussion?
Makes sense to me.
Commissioner Eisenberg.
That makes sense to me as well. However, I'm just curious, when you think about food chain workers at the corporate level for larger corporations that have stronger unions versus ones that are like smaller and more localized, I just want to make sure that that is an equitable term for being inclusive of all, whether you're Starbucks or McDonald's or whether you're a local, structure brewery employee. Like, I just want to make sure that term that was proposed by the Food Network's facilitator and Chair Reese, I just want to make sure, and I'm directing this question to you, is that the best wordage that we can use to be able to be inclusive, to make sure it's not just large corporations, but also the small business and the small scale local food restaurateur?
Yeah, it's actually primarily oriented towards the smaller businesses, but that is the most inclusive term that we know of to represent the largest swath of people.
Okay, thank you so much, Reese.
Commissioner Hanson.
Just a process question. Do we need to have a motion that we adopt this chapter before we amend it?
I think We don't have to, we're
Okay.
amending the proposal.
Okay, fine. That's great. I was just curious.
Thank you. Good question. Any other comments? Questions? Eileen, would you call the roll, please, on the motion?
Yes. Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes,
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Commissioner Dunn.
I was wondering if we could hear from Tyler. I think he's online. If you could just give us like kind of your overview of the SEDS, how that applies to this chapter, and the goals of the SEDS, just to kind of get a layman's understanding of that document.
Yeah, Tyler here. Thanks for the question, Commissioner Dunn. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. So yeah, the SEDS document, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy document, is actually a document that's approved by County Council. The most recent one was approved in 2022 and goes through 2027. The Port of Bellingham and my team in the Economic Development Group is working on the update. And the update will be from 2027 through 2031. The goals that are in the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy document focus on the base economy. That's working with our existing businesses to be able to help them grow and expand. Somewhere between 85% of job growth comes from the local businesses. And that's a strategy for us to do business retention and expansion visits and work through the businesses that we have in Whatcom County to try to facilitate ways to allow them to stay and expand locally. There's also a strategy on infrastructure. It's identifying all of the jurisdictions' infrastructure projects, how they fit within an overall strategy and are prioritized, and how to move forward for state, local, or federal grants. One of the work that we're going to do, and one of the work that's in the industrial land study, is trying to have more work on the prioritization of those infrastructure projects to be focused towards job growth and living wage, high wage jobs that can be facilitated with the infrastructure to the lands that are zoned manufacturing and industrial. We also have a regional networking which focuses on Canada, but also focuses on Skagit and San Juan counties. So identifying economic development strategies in the region to be able to help facilitate that network. There's a workforce strategy. So that's trying to connect with our local businesses, identify what workforce issues and needs they have, and then work with Bellingham Technical College, Whatcom Community College, and other workforce entities in our community. The last strategy that's in the current SEDS is resiliency. There's been a number of different either natural disasters or other issues that we've seen our local businesses not have issues associated with them. And so the resiliency strategy is trying to work with local businesses to establish plans that will help them stabilize their operations through some of those unplanned events. So that's the overarching kind of goals in the SEDS. The current SEDS document is worked with a committee called Team Whatcom. We've established a new review panel for the update of the SEDS, and we'll be working closely with the Whatcom County Business and Commerce Committee on that new strategy that will incorporate the work that the county is doing on the comp plan, the work the city of Bellingham is doing in their community plan and economic development strategy in their comp plan. So we're not duplicating that work. And then the idea would be to take some of the recommendations in the industrial land study and take some actionable items that could be incorporated into the SEDS work. Hope that answers your question, Dan.
Yep. Thanks, Tyler.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Eileen sent out, did you guys all get the motions that were sent in prior to the meeting from Commissioner Greif and Commissioner Brown?
Yes,
Okay. Good, just want to make sure you have them.
perhaps the commissioners would like to make their motions.
I'm just checking, who's the first one up? Is it me or you, Nick?
It looks like it's me. Yes, I'm happy to make the first motion, which is
Yep.
motion to replace the words high wage anywhere they appear in the document with living wage or above, including but not limited to on pages 7.1, 7.9, 7.10, 7.11, and 7.14.
I would second that.
Great. I think it's fairly, hopefully self-explanatory. You know, high wage to me at least means like top quintile or maybe top quartile, which seems like would be putting the focus on a very small subset of Bellingham workers and what we're hoping to attract for workers in Bellingham. I think we have a wider range of jobs that we're looking to build here as part of economic development. And I think the more commonly used term would be living wage or above as a target. So hopefully that's non-controversial, but open to people's comments.
Commissioners, any comments, concerns?
Makes sense.
I would just add, sorry, I'm trying to find out how to put my hand up. Oh, here we are.
Oh, there we go. Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, I would echo Nick's comments in part because we're struggling to make living wage or family wage jobs is the other one I would use. And I think the first priority is to get the majority of the population to that level before we start targeting the higher wage jobs.
Is there any other comments? Commissioner Dunn?
Just a question for Tyler, in terms of, sort of the semantics of describing wages. Is there any sort of standard about, living wage versus high wage versus family wage? You have any input on that?
Yeah, Tyler again. You know, I think there's a number of different terms you guys have all indicated. You know, I support the change to living wage jobs versus high wage jobs. When you look at the difference, they are a little bit semantics, but the living wage jobs, the best reference point is MIT's living wage calculator. It really kind of zeroes in on Whatcom County's population, the average median income, and what a single parent with no children needs to be able to live, which is in their definition to cover the basic costs for the necessities like housing, food, and healthcare. And in Whatcom County, that number is $24.66 an hour for one adult. And for two adults and two children, it's $32.26 per hour per adult. With the high wage jobs, the commissioner that proposed this change had it accurate. Really, it's looking at high wage jobs earning substantially more than the area median income. In the research and knowledge that I have, it doesn't really target an per hour. It targets more the median household income. And in that scenario, back in 2023, it'd be approximately $80,000 for median income. But the goal of establishing living wage jobs is a good goal, and we should work towards that and continue to try to attract the high wage jobs at the same time.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
Passes.
Commissioner Greif, would you continue, please?
Yeah, and if folks are comfortable, we can probably just do the next two together. 'Cause I think they're mostly one's typographical and the other is just kind of a flow section. But basically, it's motions to instruct staff to revise the vision statement section on page 7-8 to flow more naturally due to the sole vision statement being attributed to the Port of Bellingham, but still using the framework that was previously used when multiple vision statements from multiple agencies were included, and to request staff to address the typo at the bottom of page 722, which says higher that state rates and which should read higher than state rates.
And Commissioner Greif, did you make that as a motion?
I just combined them into one motion, so it was all a motion together. If folks are comfortable addressing two sections at the same time.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion?
I'm good.
Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah.
passes.
Who's the next motion?
I do.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Brown.
All right, so my apologies. The first one is a little long, and Eileen, I don't know if you want me to read it in the record, given the audio, or you'd rather do it. What do you prefer?
For you to read it for the
Okay.
records, so you are the commissioner making the motion.
All right. So page 7.9 starts with issues and goals and policies. And I'm proposing that immediately after that title, we insert a section that is entitled Leverage Our Historical Strengths and Recognize and Address Our Weaknesses. And it would read, Whatcom County economy thrives when its intrinsic strengths are leveraged with entrepreneurial talent and investment capital. The county's well-educated workforce, proximity to the Canadian market, accessible healthcare services, seaport facilities, and high-quality natural environment collectively invites domestic investment. The county has also historically benefited from its distinctive capacity to attract Canadian businesses interested in accessing the US domestic market. The proximity of Vancouver, BC to Whatcom County uniquely allows Canadian professionals to manage their US operations during the day while still being able to return home to their families in Canada each evening. A convenience available nowhere else along a 2,000-mile stretch of the border. Established domestic businesses that offer family wage or better, and I guess we change this to living wage, or better, recruit skilled graduates from local educational institutions such as cybersecurity and CNC technicians. However, due to limited affordable workplace housing and a shortage of developable industrial land, these businesses typically relocate these new hires to other counties where such resources are more accessible. Traditionally, as skilled professionals advance in their careers, some choose to establish startup enterprises, with a portion achieving success as high-wage employers for future generations. Similarly, certain graduates from our programs go on to serve as educational mentors, as instructors, or venture capital investors. Companies that are unable to secure affordable housing and industrial land for local employment not only contribute to this out-migration of skilled workers, but also remove the potential for these individuals to become local high-wage employers or educators within Whatcom County. And then I've underlined our success in attracting and retaining a living wage and higher employment opportunities is principally determined by our capacity to offer affordable housing and shovel-ready industrial land. raising wages for all is closely linked to ensuring these foundational resources are available. And that is my motion.
Do we have a second?
I can second that, just open discussion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
If I could add a little discussion, this dialogue closely follows my own journey as a Canadian investor in the Whatcom County economy, reflects very closely what happened back in the 1980s when the county was in significant financial strife, and a group of business people, of which Tim Douglas, the former mayor, was one of the people at the time, really focused on what the county's strengths and weaknesses were. And they achieved two major things as a result. They got the Alaska ferry to relocate from Seattle to Bellingham, which had a huge economic impact. And they pursued a very aggressive strategy of finding Canadian businesses that wanted to access the US market. And they could directly attribute 3,000 new jobs to the work that they did back in the 1980s. And then I'll finish with one last story. I've always been very concerned that the cybersecurity school in Bellingham really is dependent on a couple of key people. And to continue the program, those key people eventually have to be replaced by others outside the community as those key people retire. And so I sought actively, when I was on the council, to try and find a cybersecurity company that was willing to open a branch office in Bellingham. And I found the perfect company. They were very well respected. They did a lot of DoD work. They were immediately interested in the idea of having direct access to the cybersecurity graduates. But then the management asked the question, where were we at with industrial land and housing costs? And I said, industrial land is hard to find that you can build on. And the housing costs are probably comparable to Seattle. And their response is they were immediately disinterested. They wanted the staff and they were willing to relocate them, but they weren't willing to employ them in the community. So that's part of that's the background to this motivation for this.
Commissioner Dunn, go ahead.
Rudd, would this replace the words after on page 7-9 after issues, goals, and policies, or be in addition to?
This is a completely separate section between the words issues, goals and policies and above the section called diversified economy. It doesn't replace anything. It's just incremental.
Oh, got it.
Great. There. Any other commissioner comments, questions? Commissioner Hanson.
Well, I'd like to commend Commissioner Brown for writing this well-written few paragraphs, and I think they are instructive to some of the things going on here. I do believe that the last paragraph is a little simplistic in saying that determining a couple factors being the principal factors are principally determined, whereas it might a study might determine that there might be other factors that are also significant. So I would support if it was something like among the important factors, et cetera, rather than the principally determined.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Commissioner Brown, could you repeat that just a little bit louder? Wasn't coming in well.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
And Commissioner Hanson, can you give us the wording on that?
Okay, I'm doing this on the fly. Among the important factors determining our success in attracting and retaining family and higher wage employment are our capacity to offer, etc. Does that make sense?
Eileen has it written down there and she's working on it right now.
Among the determining factors, so I was trying to figure out where you wanna place it.
It's gonna go in front of our success.
Well,
Oh,
just
perfect.
start
Excellent.
over start at the beginning of the sentence. Among the factors determining our success in attracting, etc. Go on to that. And then cross out is principally determined by, see, I guess that is, you have to put a verb in there, is, or are our capacity, is our capacity, yeah, okay. But anyway, if the principally determined is replaced by among the significant factors determining our success.
Okay.
Yeah, I think availability of water is another big one, which has its own section.
So is that changed to how you intended it, Commissioner Hanson?
I'm know if I can read it in that size of, let me get bigger. Yeah, hold on. Among the factors determining, okay, small hour, O for hour.
Yes.
Among the factors are, isn't that right? No, is. Among the factors, is, okay, our capacity, etc. There's some kind of important factors or something, and there was a verb somewhere giving more among the significant factors determining or
Maybe factors are among the factors determining our success are our capacity. I'm sorry, just looking at the word that modifies the word is before our capacity would be factors.
well, I would say among the significant factors, just to make sure it keeps its importance.
There you go. Yeah.
Is our capacity. Okay, our capacity is a single thing. So yeah, that's right.
And then the family should be changed to living.
Oh yeah.
Where?
Second line, second word, second line.
Yeah, several locations.
Yeah.
Here,
Okay,
here,
perfect. I will change that.
we'll just make it home.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Sunita, we'll get to you just a moment. Commissioner Hanson, is that what you intended?
Yeah, I mean, it could be better stated, but that was the change that I believe that Commissioner Brown and I came together around.
Okay, and this was made as a friendly amendment. So what I'm gonna ask is, everybody okay with this?
I seconded it, so I'm okay with it.
Okay. Okay, so, why don't we go ahead and vote on it?
Sunita?
Oh, sorry, and Commissioner Eisenberg, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a really quick question to clarify. Is shovel ready mean the infrastructure is already in there, Red? Commissioner Brown?
It typically means that if you go into the planning department with a building permit, that's really the stage you're at. All the things like the infrastructure, the roads, access, water, sewer, power have all been resolved. It's about what do you actually want to build on the property.
Would it be, I'm just curious with just trying to stay in alignment with some of the words, like pre-application ready, or like some of the words that the county permits office in the state uses instead of shovel ready? Is there a different term that we might be able to utilize?
Shovel ready is a very common industry term.
I'm just trying to think of like the permitting process of the new expedite, like the permit process for either outside of industrial, that has, the expedite, I'm trying to think of that word that means like going the fast track or expedited, that it's already been pre-approved process. Is that also happen in industrial fields?
I haven't heard those terms, but maybe Tyler Schroeder could confirm the term that he's he thinks the industry would be familiar with.
Yeah, Tyler here. Yeah, and shovel ready is a variantly used term. You also can use pad ready industrial sites. And I think to the commissioner's question, when properties are shovel ready, the permit process is much more straightforward because all of the infrastructure and utilities are already in, and you just really go in for a building permit to accomplish the shovel ready construction.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yep.
Sunita, it's a good question, and it's a
Go
good
ahead.
question. And if you're not familiar, Tyler actually started his career in the planning department.
And, Commissioner Hanson, you had your hand up. Do you still have a question or comment?
No, I guess I could just say it that nothing in this term or in this chapter would abrogate people's responsibilities to get the appropriate permits for whatever they're going to do.
No.
And Eileen, would you call the roll on the motion?
Yes. Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yep. Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the overall motion?
I thought that was the motion.
That was it.
Oh, okay. I thought we were voting on the changes he proposed.
No, he said it was a friendly amendment.
Okay. Very good. Okay,
All right. I'm up for the next one.
go ahead.
All right, page 715, policy 7C-5. The history of this is that there was a lot of discussion, a lot of money spent many years ago to put in a fiber optic backbone network, but that is now being usurped by 5G and satellite systems. So what I was suggesting is 7C should be written so that there's adding the words at the end that say, but do not allocate any further funding for a public internet infrastructure as private satellite and 5G terrestrial systems are proving far more cost effective at providing the last mile delivery in rural areas. That is my motion, and I'll give a better explanation if I get the second.
I'll second.
Okay, so the explanation is this: the port and the county were funding. Think of it as they were funding the major highway to provide the internet traffic through the county. But what they weren't funding was all the side streets and the lanes going to the houses, and that is the economically that is the most challenging part of the whole equation. And since the county started funding the fiber optic network, which started over 20 years ago, most of the fiber has been dark. That means no one is actually connected to it. And the county has never been involved in the last mile. Since then, pretty much in the last 5 years, two major things have happened. 5G transmission to houses is now viable in rural areas, but more significantly is Starlink and similar satellite systems are far more effective and cost effective than anything the county could ever be involved in. Or even frankly, people like Comcast. Comcast can't compete with it either. So
Commissioner Dunn.
There's a thing called BEAD funding. It's a federal program for money for fiber optics, things like that. It's kind of in process right now through Department of Commerce. I don't know if anyone knows, we have Tyler may know this. Tyler, do we have what do you call it, like an application in for any of that funding?
Yeah, good question, Commissioner Dunn. Yeah, there is currently BEAD funding, which is federal funding that gets allocated to the Washington State Broadband Office. Currently, the PUD and the Port of Bellingham are working on 3 projects that have already been funded. The Point Roberts broadband project. There's also a project in North Linden and North Ferndale. All 3 of those are last mile projects using fiber. The BEAD funding has been on and off for the last 9 months to a year. And a lot of that is, to Commissioner Brown's point, where hard fiber may not be the most cost effective way to accomplish the last mile. BEAD round 2 is going to be awarded probably within the next month. And WSBO, Washington State Broadband Office, was tasked with developing the most cost-effective ways to accomplish the rural broadband deployment, utilizing both the 5G and satellite technology and hard fiber. So there are a couple of awards that are anticipated in Whatcom County that would have a combination of both. That I'd be a little bit concerned about the broad term of publicly funds if we do have some grant funding that's coming the county's way to accomplish a combination of hard fiber and LEO fiber or LEO or Starlink types of delivery of that method.
Commissioner Hanson, go ahead.
I know you do.
I need to unmute Commissioner Hanson.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Along those lines, I was wondering if there's some way, rather than giving a strict mandate of what may not be done, that we could specify something that around the lines of cost effective and utilizing current technology in the original paragraph or sentence. Because I think that would get to Commissioner Brown's outcomes without tying anybody's hands as far as current funding.
Commissioner Masseri, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just don't know why you need to add anything to it. It's a pretty basic policy there that just says that we should encourage the communication and cable companies to develop high-speed internet infrastructure. They could do that in any shape or form. And if we can get some grant funding or whatever to facilitate some stuff and work together and, maybe serving industrial areas or whatever it is, I just don't see why we need to add to it or at all, qualify it.
Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, listening to everybody, I think the main thing I'm missing in this is I should have inserted the word between further and funding, as it should have been further county funding. I have no objection to the feds funding it if they want to. I just think it's a very inefficient thing for the county to be funded.
Commissioner Dunn.
And I think I agree with Rudd in principle of that, where the technology is going is for, 5G and satellite and all this kind of stuff. But I agree with Dominic in literal terms, in that policy, the first sentence it is, allows the county to find whatever system or the port to find whatever system works best for it. And I think if we wanted to have something about, put in a word about cost effectiveness for the last mile, I'd support that. But I think the words "do not allocate" are pretty fierce. And I think that with potential BEAD funding, and I wouldn't want to get in the way of that. If the county has to spend a little bit of money to get millions of dollars of federal money, like I wouldn't want the county to feel like, oh, we can't spend a little bit of money to get all this other money in.
Commissioner Brown,
I'm actually going to withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I've heard the comments and I'm not comfortable enough with my logic to continue this discussion.
thank you, Commissioner Brown.
All right. I think I'm up for the next one, on page 716. If we go to, so site specific, it starts off with site specific constraints. Where are we? Oh yeah. So it's the second paragraph under regulations and processing. It starts with the language site specific environmental constraints.
Commissioner Brown, can you speak up just a little bit?
I'll try. I'm as close to the microphone as I can get. Okay, so page 716. The heading is regulations and processing. It's the second paragraph. Starts with the word site specific environmental constraints. At the end of the word demands in that paragraph, I'm proposing to add the following language. Any land capacity analysis must include all data from all available resources on potential and actual wetlands, including the impact of current and potential increases in buffers, which could come into effect during the 20-year planning period covered by the comprehensive plan. And if I get a second, I will explain.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Right. So you've seen the charts that I provided on what I think the wetlands are and what the buffer impacts are going to be. Since I provided those charts, I've been working to gather all available information on predicted wetlands or forecasted wetlands. And the amount of impact is frankly much greater than I think any one of those layers is. In addition to that, in addition to wetlands, you have buffers. We have buffers that we had last year. We have buffers we have this year. And there is at least 2 agencies that are proposing to increase those buffers even further. And what I'm asking for here is that any planning include all that data, because if you don't include that data, you are not coming up with an accurate forecast of available land. And the data that needs to be included is all the predicted or estimated changes that are going to occur over the planning period. It doesn't make sense to come up with a forecast today that you know is going to change next year because people are proposing greater restrictions. So that's the motion. That's the explanation to the motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
We have a second.
So, any discussion? I haven't heard anybody call this a friendly amendment. So, and seeing no hands up, I think, would you call the roll on the amendment to?
Sorry, I was just keeping my hand down to give someone else a chance. It's up now.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Hanson.
Well, I see where we're going here. It's a little confusing to me when, like maybe Rudd can clarify this difference between a potential wetland and an actual wetland. That's one issue I have.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is, I think it's unfair to ask people to take speculative change into account. That is, potential increases, perhaps if they're close to being approved, they might be considered but it just seems a little bit too much to ask for them to speculate about changes in buffers over a 20-year planning period. But I do, and I believe they, from what I've read about land analysis, they are going to take wetlands into account. And maybe if there's a significant difference between actual and potential, maybe we could call that to their attention. But I think when it goes beyond there, it seems like it's a little too ethereal.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, Rudd, I definitely agree with your point, which is that we need to have accurate data about where the wetlands are. And I agree with Jim about the difficulty of saying what are potential wetlands and what are the potential increases. It's like I'd be over 20-year period, I don't know what's, legislature could change, the state could have Department of Ecology could change, it'd be a huge changes in 10 years. Either way. And so I think there's a way to word this possibly that has the most accurate and recent and up to date, buffers. Because like in the land capacity analysis, they definitely weren't using the up to date stuff. I mean, that's pretty clear to me. So if there's a way to word it that's more like use the most accurate current data and using the most expansive view of what the current buffers are, but I'm not sure if I'm comfortable trying to estimate in the future as to what the potential future estimates might be.
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Yeah, so let me perhaps give a little bit more color to this to explain it. I've downloaded layers done by the National Wetlands Inventory Mapping Service, the Department of Ecology, the county, and I've pulled up the stream layers from the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife. Now, these are all recognized, very respected organizations in their own right. They've each mapped out where they predict that wetlands or riparian areas are going to be. And there's quite a bit of variation between them. There's certainly areas where they overlap, but I'll give you an example. The National Wetlands Inventory, the latest inventory mapping, has a pretty good, it's not completely encompassing based on my own ground truth, but it's got a pretty good layout of where all the streams are, whether they're fish bearing or not fish bearing. Now, if they're not fish bearing, they currently have to have a buffer of 50 feet. But they don't; those don't show up on any wetlands maps, even though they require buffers. If you then look at the fish-bearing streams, they require a 150-foot buffer, and there is currently discussion to increase that to 300 feet. And that's an active discussion that's going on at the moment in the Department of Ecology. And then if you look at the Department of, I think it's Fish and Wildlife has got their own request that the stream buffers should be equal to the highest mature height of the species of tree that could grow in the riparian area. So in other words, if you have a tree that can grow to 260 feet, they believe the buffer should be 260 feet. This could be a buffer that is currently 150 feet. So the first part is that if you take any one of those layers, wetlands layers, you are going to get an understated amount of wetlands, and you're going to do your planning based on an understated amount of wetlands. If you layer them all over the top of each other and get rid of the duplicate elements, you end up with a more accurate representation, but it's still not complete. And I'll explain the incompleteness. The county and the cities have another layer, which is wetlands that have been actually delineated. So it's a property where someone has gone out with a shovel and all the test equipment and followed all the procedures, and they've actually worked out exactly where the wetlands are. Now, if the predictive layers were accurate, then those delineated wetlands should be 100% within the predicted layers. Does that make sense? if the prediction of where the wetlands was accurate, the actual ground truth of where the wetlands are should overlap exactly. The ratio of overlap is about 45 to 55%, which means it's 55% of any delineate on average. 55% of the delineated wetlands is found inside the predicted wetlands, and 45% was not predicted by anybody. So the wetlands issue has far more impact on our buildable lands than we seem to understand at any level.
So, Director Personius, you wanted to comment here.
Yeah, Commissioner Brown, would you be open? I don't know if I'd call it a friendly amendment, but would you be open to some potential amended language?
Well, Mark, I have to be open to what any language.
Yeah,
Only got one vote.
it's always it is always, and I'll just put this comment before I suggest some minor changes, but it is always a challenge, right? Because we only get to delineate real wetlands on the ground when someone applies for a permit and invites us onto their property. So if they don't do that, then we don't really know, right? No one knows. It's all done from telemetry or from satellite, and it's a guess. So it's hard to say for sure what's known. Having said that, what I was going to suggest is a couple of changes in that first line. Any land capacity analysis must. I would recommend changing must to should. Include, and then after the word all and before data, known data from all available resources on potential and actual wetlands, including, and then after the word including, insert consideration of the impact of current and potential increases in buffers. And some of the commissioner comments are right. We can't predict the future of what the state legislature might do, or state agencies might do, or future county councils might do in terms of increasing or decreasing buffers in this example. But so that's kind of a speculative thing to sort of try to mandate as we do a land capacity analysis. But I think we can certainly consider the potential for increases in the future as a part of future land capacity analysis. So that would be my suggested amended language.
Commissioner Brown, will you maybe just answer Director Personius in a short answer, because Commissioner Hanson's had his hand up, and then I'll give you the floor again after Commissioner Hanson speaks.
Yes. Is that short enough?
It's short enough.
Good job, Ron.
That worked.
Thank you. Commissioner Hanson, go ahead.
Well, first of all, it gets confusing to me when we talk about stream buffers for fish habitat and water quality for fish in the same framework as wetlands and wetlands buffers, which are for water quality and water quantity. But I was involved for about 25 years in this whole discussion of buffers for fish-bearing streams, and actually planted many buffers along streams. And some of these topics you were talking about, Commissioner Brown, like just a standard one-size-fits-all buffer for stream size. What should it be? 50, 150, 300, whatever. Or based on the tree height, which means it's supposed to fall in the stream and create its own woody debris, log jams, etc. That's what that's based on. There's another way of looking at it based on shading, and the buffers on one side of the stream might be a lot smaller, and the buffers on the other side might be larger because of the aspect of the sun. So this stuff has been talked over for the last 30 years and argued over, but what it comes down to is politics, and we're not going to find buffers so large that they will destroy forestry, destroy agriculture or destroy forestry, because those departments you're talking about are very sensitive to political backlashes. So I wouldn't presume that dramatic increases are underway.
Commissioner Brown, go ahead and take the floor again.
Well, first off, Jim, all the buffers I mentioned are the increase from 150 to 300 for streams, I believe, is DOE, and the buffers based on tree height is Fish and Wildlife. That's what I understand they are currently looking at proposing now, and Skagit is already working on that. So those are both examples of numbers that have made it a long way through the political process. And all I'm saying, I'm not expressing an opinion whether the buffers are right or wrong. That's not the point. The point is when you're doing a land capacity analysis, if you don't take into account what the buffers are today or what they're expected to be, your land capacity analysis is going to be wrong. And all I'm saying is we have to take those numbers into account to make sure the capacity analysis is right. It's got nothing to do with the science of whether the buffers are right. So.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, I support the changes that Mark made. I think that makes it closer to in my head, kind of what seems reasonable.
Okay, so we have a motion. And I'm not gonna call the roll, but if everybody support the changes that Director Personius made. Okay. And that's fine with you, Commissioner Brown?
Fine with me.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please, on the motion?
Yes. Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah.
passes.
All right, next one is on page 717. It would be a new policy. And it would read, it'd be policy number 7D11. To further facilitate development of housing and land for industry, make advanced wetlands and buffer mitigation credit creation and compensatory offsite and wetlands buffer mitigation and outright permitted use in the R5, R10 forestry and ag zones outside of the urban growth and urban growth reserve areas. That's my motion.
Second.
And
We have a
then,
motion, second, any discussion?
do you want an explanation or not?
Let's do that, and then Commissioner Dunn has a comment.
Okay. So the explanation is simply this: if you look at the permitted uses on the zoning tables, there's no permitted use. Doing planting wetlands mitigation is not listed as a permitted use in the zoning table. A wetlands mitigation bank is a conditional use, but a wetlands mitigation bank is a huge undertaking, very similar to what the Lummi have done. So I don't think anybody disagrees with the right to plant trees on a property and enhance the environment, but it's not actually listed as a permitted thing to do.
Commissioner Hanson.
Well, two challenges here is that I used to facilitate landowners entering into CREP contracts when I worked for Lummi, and they are basically receiving a rental for their property to compensate for agricultural use that's being foregone. I'm not sure if that goes away after 20 years or what, but I believe that there are things in the contract that may or may not preclude them using their CREP habitat as a compensation for anything else. So it would be useful to look into the paperwork on those CREP contracts before we decide that it's appropriate for them to be used. And the other thing is, we don't really want more people building in rural areas. So why should we encourage it?
If I can respond.
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, so the CREP issue is actually the next one, Jim. This one is not related to CREP.
Oh, my bad. I was looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
sorry.
Yeah.
I scrolled down too far.
Yeah, so now why would you allow it? Because the again, the zoning allows certain things. You can't even zone, if you want to do development in a UGA, you are going to have to do mitigation, right? So even if you concentrate a development in a UGA area or ultimately a UGA reserve area, you have to find a place to do that compensation in the same sub-basin. Does that make sense? So all this does is it just makes it easier. It just makes it an outright permitted use to do the mitigation that may be in a UGA area where certainly everybody's trying to concentrate growth. It may be on a single family residence on a property that is zoned for residential for one house on 5 acres that needs to do mitigation for their septic drain field or for their driveway or whatever the case may be. They need to have somewhere to do it. And if that particular property is currently treed, there is no way to do mitigation on that property now. Does that make sense?
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, and I just say, Commissioner Hanson, this potentially would help reduce sprawl if out in the R5, R10 forestry and ag zones, you can do these mitigation banks. Somebody can take advantage of that's in the UGA area to be able to offset their impacts.
Thank you. I was just starting to figure that out. Thank you. So maybe it should be clear that this is for use of off-site mitigation rather than use to develop in those zones.
Well, the mitigation could be for any one of a number of reasons. By the way, it could be because the Washington Department of Transportation needs to build a roundabout, right? The Department of Transportation has to go through mitigation just like everybody else does. If the Lummi want to do something, they have to go through mitigation. If a school wants to do something, the county's trying to do mitigation at the moment to build a new jail. I mean, it's for anything you want to do requires mitigation, basically.
Well, thank you. That makes a lot more sense now you explain it. Appreciate that.
Director Platoni.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Commissioner Brown for proposing this policy. I do have a friendly amendment, but this is an issue and it is a emerging issue. It's a growing issue. And we know we need to amend the code to address it. So what my only concern is the way it's written right now, it is a mandate. And as a policy, I would suggest just a minor change because we have to evaluate right, that potential code change and look at those different zones, look at the uses that are allowed in those zones. Maybe permitted outright is appropriate. Maybe it should be an administrative use. Maybe there should be more public notice because outright permitted uses don't necessarily require public notice to neighbors. So there's some nuance in the details that we would get into when we actually went to amend the code. But from a policy guidance standpoint, I would just suggest changing the word make in 71 to consider making. And what that does is that gives it gives PDS, it gives the county direction to go and evaluate whether or not we should make these outright permitted, but it's a very clear direction for us to do that. But it's not assuming that it's gonna be an automatic thing. As written, it would be an automatic thing. Does that make sense?
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Yes,
Or
But it's changed, yeah,
Consider making.
consider me.
I'm trying to keep it short.
That was nice and brief, Commissioner Brown. Okay, is there any other comments, any other discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes,
Dunn,
Yes.
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah,
passes.
this one up.
go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
On page 717, it would be a new policy 7D12. So it's immediately after the next one. To further facilitate development of housing and land for industry, allow any land that is planted and maintained USDA Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, and then in brackets, CREP habitat, to qualify as advanced wetlands mitigation and buffer mitigation credit and compensatory offsite creation, with the effective date of the CREP contract serving as the commencement date of the mitigation creation. That's my motion, and I can explain if I get a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any
Explanation?
discussion?
Yeah. Do you want me to explain, or do you want Jim to comment first?
Go ahead, Commissioner Hanson.
Well, go ahead, Rudd, explain it, because maybe you can explain away my comment.
I hope to answer it. So the CREP program has been very effective at encouraging landowners, particularly farmers, to expand riparian buffers on streams. And the program, for those who are not familiar, works on the principle that the farmer rents the land to the USDA for up to 15 years with a right to renew the contract for another 15 years. And for that period of time, the federal government pays the farmer to rent the land, and the farmer grows trees, shrubs, and other habitat that's consistent with what you need for that riparian protection. And those buffers can be from anything from 25 feet to 180 feet. In Whatcom County had a very successful adoption of CREP contracts until about 2 years ago, where the USDA came along and they said, basically every contract that had been written in the last 20 years had been using the wrong data, and they effectively turned around and unilaterally cancelled over 200 contracts for CREP, and they left the farmers with trees growing on farmland and no income. And the cost of, once the trees had probably got past about 2 or 3 years in age, it costs you approximately, we worked it out, was $2,000 an acre to return the land to productive farmland. So the farmers have given up their farmland, the feds have cancelled the contracts, and the feds will not remove the trees and allow the farmers to make money farming the land again. And it's done a tremendous amount of damage to the desire for the farming community to cooperate in protecting habitat and streams. And I don't blame them. I've been personally affected by this. And I know, and I've spoken to several other people who have been affected by it, and there's a tremendous amount of anger and so forth. So that's the background of what happened. The logic here is we don't want those trees ripped out of the ground. We want them to continue to provide riparian protections. And the best way to do that is to give the farmer another source of income for leaving them in the ground. And the best way to do that is to say, you can use that land for wetlands and buffer mitigation compensation as if you planted that land for that purpose. So that's the logic.
Commissioner Hanson,
Well, I certainly think that you're on the right track in terms of if these are now an asset that the government has stopped compensating for, that this would be an appropriate use to mitigate, it's a type of mitigation bank or, that sort of activity. But a couple of things is it's either some of these areas were marginally productive and the farmers really got a good deal. But when they terminated it, basically they shafted them. So I would suggest that this would fly and not be double dipping if it was rather than the commencement date of the mitigation creation, it would be the termination date of the mitigation contract. That way, they would continue to be compensated theoretically without it being double dipping.
I can explain the logic if you wish.
You want me to further explain that logic?
No, I can explain that, my logic if you wish.
Commissioner Brown, go ahead and give us your thoughts or your explanation, and I appreciate what Commissioner Hanson's saying.
Yeah. So Jim, it's a good question. It's not double dipping because if you do compensatory mitigation, that is, if you said to me, hey, right, I need to plant an acre of trees on your property to make up for the fact that I'm trying to put a septic drain field in, or I'm trying to build a shoulder, or for a roundabout. The day I start getting paid is the day we agree that I provided you mitigation, right? Because that's compensatory. You're having an impact on your property and I'm mitigating for that impact on my property. The difference with advanced mitigation is someone is planting the trees in advance. I would be planting the trees in advance of you coming to me and saying, I want to buy the mitigation credits off you. And what the county does is this follows the federal rules. The mitigation is based on a time frame. So you get a temporal uplift, you get an improvement. So the longer the trees are in the ground, the more successful the CREP is proven to be, the mitigation is proven to be, you get a increase in the value of the mitigation, right? And it's all based on time. The minimum is 1 year and the maximum is 10 years. At 10 years, it's deemed to be it's deemed to have created as much mitigation value as possible. Does that make sense? So that's
Go ahead.
So that the logic is if you planted your CREP 3 years ago, you should get credit for the fact that you started 3 years ago, not yesterday. That's all.
Go ahead, Commissioner Hanson.
Well, that does make a lot of sense as long as it's now they understand that the date they're going to be compensated for isn't the date they planted, but the value of the mitigation will represent the maturity of the mitigation buffer there. I don't know if it could be more clearly stated, but one other factor is that there are certain legal buffer requirements, and the CREP buffers go beyond those mandated requirements. So I would think that the property eligible for this mitigation effort should be that beyond the legally mandated area.
Could you repeat that, Jim? I missed it.
Well, that the area eligible for this buffer mitigation credit should be that is excessive of the legal requirement that the farmer has to abide by in any case. And that's, that's probably 25 feet, but but they could have 150 or 200 feet buffer, but 25 feet, let's say, or 50 feet at the max, they would have had to be required to minimally not have in agricultural production and probably have some sort of filter strip on, if not trees.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with your principle. I think the rule is if it's cattle and you got a CPAL, then it's 25 feet. If you don't have a CPAL, I think it's 50 feet, something like that from memory. I don't remember the exact numbers, but that's a valid point.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, Rudd, so I see how this works pretty clearly if it's a CREP situation where the contract's been canceled. But the way this is written, it would apply to people that didn't have their CREP contracts canceled. In which case that seems a little bit muddier to me, since they're already doing that and now they're just gonna kind of get to take advantage of this as well. That area is not at risk right now, right? Versus the argument that the other area might be at risk because they may take it out of the current state to farm it again.
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
So a CREP contract is a temporary rental for either 5 or 15 years at a time. At the end of the first renewal, so either 20 years or 30 years total, you can't continue the CREP contract. But at any time that a CREP contract expires, or you decide to terminate it, because you can actually also terminate a contract as the landowner. You have to pay the government compensation if you do it, but you can terminate it. But there's nothing to stop. There's no protections on that land anymore. If you put land into wetlands mitigation or buffer mitigation, you must, by definition, put a permanent conservation easement on it. So it can never be impacted from that point forward.
Commissioner Dunn.
I guess Don, it's your question about kind of like double dipping, like you're gonna get paid for the credits and you're also gonna get paid for CREP.
Yeah, well, my bigger thought was, because if somebody can take advantage of two things, great. But my bigger thought was, well, it's not really at risk of getting reverted back to the farmland, but it sounds like it could technically, and this is kind of a way of locking it in to make sure it doesn't, even when the contract is over. So I can see the argument both ways.
Go ahead.
I know a lot of these folks, the CREP people did an amazing job of convincing it isn't just farmers, it was a lot of small landowners, 5 acres, 10 acres. They worked their tail off to get these trees all planted. When they yanked those contracts, it was just the bizarrest thing ever for so much work that was done. I mean, if I would have owned it, I would have just started bulldozing right there and just, I didn't do that and I wasn't a part of CREP, but it was that kind of a deal. So that's why I support it, just because it was such a government screw up in my part, the way I see it. It ignored a lot of hard people's work on both to make this all happen with a lot of landowners.
Go ahead, Director Personio.
Yeah, and I appreciate the conversation, because CREP's always been this kind of temporary thing, right? And so from our perspective, from a local government's perspective, we could never count it as sort of mitigation because it could go away, right? Your contract, the government can cancel the contract, what happened here, or the contract expires and the rental payments stop, and then the farmer can, or the property owner can just bulldoze those trees. So it doesn't get us a permanent riparian improvements like a conservation easement would. So I appreciate the thinking about it. I do have some slightly suggested language though.
It's like a theme now.
Yeah, and that would be, and again, it's just, you're giving guidance, it's a policy, so it's giving guidance to us. And obviously, there's some issues that have come up, that kind of muddy the water a little bit, we'd have to look into about, well, what the federal government does and what the local county government can do and all of that. And that would be that to change, instead of after industry, I would put a comma, and I would say the county should evaluate. And then allowing. Right, so we would have to look at our critical areas ordinance title 16 and evaluate, well, how would that work from a permitting standpoint? What kind of criteria would we have? Would there be conditions on the CREP contract? Can we even do that as a county government, because it's a federal thing? So there's a lot of questions there, but I certainly think it's a good idea to kind of look into that, and this policy would give us clear direction to do that. The other thing I would add is, after the word compensatory offsite, I think we need mitigation. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Director Personia, should we have between has and planted the word been?
Yes, that would be a good one.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Like it.
okay. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay. Is everybody okay with the changes?
Jim has it.
Yeah, I had my hand up.
Commissioner Hanson, go ahead.
Yes, I am okay with that, and I guess I would presume that when they're evaluating, they will take factors into account like legally required buffers, both by the county and by the state, and factor those into amounts available for mitigation. So in that regard, I would support the overall motion.
Any other discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
All right, next one is page
Commissioner
7.
Brown, go ahead.
Sorry, my apologies. Next one is on page 718, it would be new policy 7E5. When it's talking about, how to, anyway. So the language would be actively promote to Canadian businesses Whatcom County's unique ability to allow Canadian professionals to manage their US operations during the day while still being able to return home to their families in Canada each evening. Something unavailable anywhere else along a 2,000-mile stretch of the border. That's my motion.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Brown, do you want to explain it a little bit, or would you like to?
I just add that this is exactly why I started my business in Canada, and this is exactly why the headquarters ended up in Bellingham, is because for the first 4 years, myself and my other managers could literally just drive across the border from Surrey, build the business in the US, and then go home and have dinner with our kids. And there's nowhere else to do it for 2,000 miles. It's such a unique advantage. And every time I've spoken to a Canadian business who's talked about coming into the US market, they've looked at me sort of wide-eyed and said, that's unheard of. So I just want to make sure we accentuate it because it's a great selling point.
Commissioner Eisenberg.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Commissioner Brown. I also have some Canadian friends and soccer players and business owners and farmers, and I'm just curious when it says active. So question is for Commissioner Brown. Actively promote, would you explain more on what does that look like in this policy? What does promote mean to you?
Well, when we have someone as talented as Tyler Schroeder promoting the county as a place to invest and do business, which is what his job is. This is just to indicate to Tyler or anybody who comes after him that we want this to be one of the things that's put forefront and center of any promotional materials that are targeting the Canadian market.
A follow-up question would it be a better use of words to incentivize? Are there any policies or programs or anything that our Whatcom County could do? Because when I hear promote, I think of marketing, I think of promotion, I think of like students in the marketing degree at Western, and when they use the word promote, they usually ask questions like, well, are you needing to educate? Are you bringing awareness? Like promotion has a lot of different connotations if you're a marketer versus if you're in government agencies. So I just wanted some more clarity of, yeah, we can, as a person, individual, business, Tyler, our county, we can promote all day long, but it doesn't mean that it incentivizes or brings in or retains those business owners. And I talk to a lot of Canadian soccer players a lot about this exact topic. So I'm very curious to learn more on how to vote for this so that I can maybe encourage those Canadians to look at what we are doing actively to promote Canadian businesses across the border.
Yeah, I mean, based on your question, I think you might want to change, or we might want to change the word promote to market. But it is very much the idea of taking an active role to market, to promote, to advertise to Canadian businesses that they can do this, because it's really one of those sort of things that makes them go wide-eyed, because there literally isn't anywhere else you can do it until you hit Detroit. The Detroit Windsor border. The Detroit Windsor is the next place you can do this along the border.
Tyler, you want to go ahead?
Oh yeah, thanks, commissioners. You know, I appreciate the suggestion on the language, council member, Commissioner Brown. I also think maybe instead of promote, we could use the term recruit. So in business development, we do retention, expansion, and recruitment. And just in the last week, we've had 3 different businesses that are either currently in Whatcom County that came from Canada or are looking to come to Whatcom County because of this exact point that Rudd is bringing to the table. When I think about recruit, it's to promote, to show what incentives we have, although those tools are fairly limited. So maybe just the term recruit might be able to be a larger term that's kind of in the business that includes all of the discussions that the commissioner is having right now.
Am I allowed to second that suggestion instead of market to recruit?
I'm happy to accept it. I don't have an issue.
Let's let Director Personius weigh in for a minute, and then we'll talk about that again, Commissioner Eisenberg.
Yeah, I just want to follow up and say that the county executive has made a big initiative of this particular policy. He has family on the Canadian side of the border too, and has been recruiting, going up to the local governments north of the border and recruiting their businesses down to Whatcom County, primarily for land costs, just because our land is much cheaper than it is in lower BC. And so for either for agriculture or for industrial purposes. So a lot of this is already going on. And so I do like that recruit language.
And Tyler, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just going to add just one little bit, and it gets back to the conversation with the first language that was being proposed by Rudd, which is the other real reason the industrial land study was put together, was to really identify those available lands, and if there aren't available lands, to help that Canadian recruitment or the local businesses to expand, we need to solve that problem as well. So I look forward to talking with the Planning Commission and Council at the joint session in September. But as I started the job with economic development, I wanted to focus on land availability so that we could meet this goal that Rudd and Executive Sadu have all been talking about. Because earlier, we talked about Tim Douglas, the past mayor, and all of the success in the 80s. That's when lands were available in manufacturing and industrial zones, which they aren't today. And so kind of a dual path to accomplish this goal is needed. And I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Tyler. I don't know if you realize it, but you've set me up really nicely for my next motions after this one.
I usually try, Red.
Okay, for any more discussion,
I just think
Commissioner Dunn.
kind of like a suggestion, just linguistically, if you remove the word to between recruit and Canadian, so read actively recruit Canadian businesses.
And then you need something after businesses.
Recruit about actively recruit Canadian businesses.
Two.
Oh, right, yeah, actually, this is, yeah.
It's either put in like about or keep the two, right? Recruit to those businesses are.
Oh, right, it's
To allow
actively recruit to Canadian businesses, well, yep,
Yeah.
or actively recruit Canadian businesses. Yeah, you have to say you're recruiting businesses or recruit businesses.
Maybe the word using after businesses using.
Sure, yep, that works. Yep, perfect.
Everybody fine with that? Seeing no other hands up, I should ask anybody else have any more comments? Okay. I'm not seeing any hands. Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Bry,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
Next one up is on page. I've got 711, but I think that's wrong. So well, maybe it is right. Oh, it's just the way you've done it. I see. So on page 711, let's go to that. Okay. So on page 711 would be to change policy 7A-4 to read employ innovative techniques to remove barriers preventing construction of new homes and shovel-ready industrial land necessary to create and develop a diversified matrix for a broader economic base. And what I was trying to do here was I don't think we should be trying to improve the economy by raising sales taxes. I think it's counterproductive. I don't want to raise taxes and have government spend it trying to create jobs. I'd rather just try and work out how to get out of the way of the private sector to create jobs. That's my motion.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead, Commissioner. Dunn.
Yes, just looking at the. I feel like as it's written, the policy gives latitude for whoever's doing the recruitment. Innovative techniques, diversified mixed businesses, broader economic base, and I feel like your motion would be to be specific about new homes and shovel industrial land. And then the other part would be to remove the possibility of using the sales tax to do that. Is that right? Is that kind of the gist of your motion?
Well, if you go, you sort of have to read this by going first to goal 7A, which is promote a healthy economy that provides ample opportunity for living wage jobs for diverse segments of the community, which is essential to maintaining and enhancing the quality of life in the area. And I don't think we need, when we talk about employing innovative techniques to recruit and develop a diversified mix of businesses for a broader economic base, the starting point is not the creation of a new economic development program to be funded by sales taxes. We already know that the way we need to deal with this is to address our housing crisis and our buildable lands crisis. That's the logic for my motion.
Commissioner Hanson. You, the mute button there.
Sorry. I'm concerned about terms like barriers because there may be legitimate limitations that could be perceived as barriers. So, and also it seems like this is a clause about something else rather than facilitating construction. So it seems like it's a mixed. It changes the intent of the clause. If yeah, so I guess I don't particularly favor it. If it did go through, I would look to something like mitigating barriers or something like that rather than removing. But there's plenty of places in this document where we can talk about construction of homes and businesses and what we perceive to be the challenges in that regard.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, Rudd, why not, since I do think we do talk about that specific thing in other areas, if the sales tax is the issue, why not just leave it as is and cut off the second half? You know, have it go as is, end at economic base, and then remove the starting with the citing of the economic development program funded by the collected monies collected.
Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of emotion on this one, to be honest, Dominic. I just my main issue is to discourage us from trying to solve problems by raising sales taxes even further, because it disproportionately affects those who can least afford it. So I'd either be fine accepting your amendment, or I'd be fine striking the whole of 7A-4 out of the thing entirely. Either way, I'm trying to get rid of the sales tax increase.
Tyler, go ahead.
Oh yeah, if somebody can help me, and maybe Mark has this answer. Is that RCW 5817 something something something?
That's 82-14-370.
Is that the Economic Development Investment Fund or the Rural Sales Tax RCW, Mark?
Yes. Yes.
So, I think that this is language that has been in the comp plan that council a few years ago added to help support the Associate Development Organization, the Economic Development Team at the port. And the county is utilizing the EDI fund to help support economic development efforts, which is what my group is currently funded by. I don't have any issues if we strike the language. I just hope that Commissioner Brown, once Councilmember Brown that got the funds to support the economic development team still sees value in it. So I think Red, this is the rural sales tax that's helping support economic development efforts, but isn't in any way proposing to increase or look towards new sales tax to accomplish that effort.
So, yeah, Tyler, I owe you a bit of an apology because you're right. This is EDI funding.
Yeah,
And
I think you had a big effort in getting that expansion using those funds appropriately.
I actually like the EDI funding.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that Linden has historically used over 60% of it.
We're working on that as well.
Good. So I think the thing that triggered me was a new economic development program. So it's probably the word, because it's not. I'm supportive. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing this up. I'm supportive of funding the existing economic development program with the existing sales tax.
Yeah, and I think that this was language that was proposed before that part. So updating it to recognize that support with the existing sales tax would be an appropriate way to resolve that.
Yeah, so we struck out the words starting through to the word program. Then it's well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter too much because it's not. We're actually, if we're not going to start a new program, let's see how we can fix this. So,
Commissioner Dutt, go ahead.
Maybe if we just said, looking at the languages in the document now, employ innovative techniques to recruit and develop a diversified mix of businesses for a broader economic base, using the economic development program funded by RCW 82. So just saying, we're doing it now, let's keep doing it.
Yeah, I like that.
So after economic base, you'll be using the economic development program funded with monies collected under RCW 82-1437.
Everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm. Gotta keep paying your salary, Tyler.
I appreciate it.
Go home and tell Mary I almost screwed things up, but you saved the day.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Oseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
Passes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
Okay, next one is on page 711 is 7A-9. The way this is written is that we believe we can encourage resource-based industries and knowledge-based industries to create employment in Eastern Whatcom County, and I have a fundamental challenge with that because resource-based typically means they're going to be focused on cutting down the forests up there because that's what the resources are. And the knowledge-based industries, the idea of the companies are going to go out to Eastern Whatcom County to set up knowledge-based industries when you're dealing with a population that has so many other challenges, I think is just impractical. So if we really want to create employment in Eastern Whatcom County, I believe the resolution should be to enhance the environment for attracting employment to the communities in eastern Whatcom County by rezoning nearby land suitable for companies who need the type of skills already possessed by the residents in the eastern area. In other words, that's my motion, and I can explain further if needed.
I'll second.
And if I can just add, if you want employment in those areas, the best way, the cheapest, fastest, and best way to get it is to find a way to support employers that can use the skills those people already have. Not expect them to be retrained as computer scientists or other knowledge-based workers.
Are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Hampton?
Well, it's hard to see why we need to rezone land unless these rural cities are requesting land to be rezoned. Seems like there ought to be adequate zoning within these rural cities to provide any kind of economic development, and that they should take the lead in doing that zoning. And in terms of their UGAs or the rural lands, I'm very, very reticent about upzoning rural lands. You know, maybe we're going to look at their UGAs in chapter 2, and this may come into play there. But really, I think I guess maybe secondary processing for farm products and forestry products would be an example of a use that would be conducive to the labor force. But I think we got to also be careful that we're not patronizing these people.
Commissioner Brown?
I believe this pretty much only applies to the Columbia, the East County, I'm just drawing a blank. Is it the Columbia Valley?
UGA.
Columbia UGA.
Columbia UGA. Because it's the decision maker is the county, it's not the cities in that area. It's not a place that you want to transport materials to and have them worked on and then transport them back, because it's just really inefficient to do it on a 2-lane highway. It's really hard. It's frankly really hard to come up with stuff that a group of people, with a lot of whom have limited English skills, limited education. It's really hard to come up with something that you can put in there. And there is a lack of land up there. I don't think there's any industrial land up in that area, or if it is, it's very restricted. I mean, the bottom line is no one's really created employment there for 50 years since people started arriving there. And I think the lack of suitable land is one of the choke points. So that's the logic behind it.
Go ahead. Director Persani.
So we're actually doing this right now. At your next meeting on September 11th, Matt will present the proposal for the Columbia Valley UGA. And that proposal includes proposing to rezone a portion of the area that's already in the UGA, but it's zoned rural forestry, to change that zoning to low impact industrial. So we've been working with that property owner over the years, and they've finally indicated that they're ready and willing to do that. And then there are certainly constraints in the Columbia Valley UGA on some urban infrastructure, particularly water and sewer. But But that's something that we will be proposing, and you guys will consider on the 11th as well, so.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, I live out in East County and I definitely like the consideration of up in the UGA because I think there is opportunity there. I would just say it's worth looking throughout the whole of East County. You've got small cities that are unincorporated. Most of all we have are some random landlords. And it'd be nice if we don't have to drive so far to get to, just a few more small businesses and stuff out there. I think people would work there and would patronate. So I think it's worth looking at. A little bit more small town commercial, that kind of stuff out there would make a difference.
One thing that's been happening over the last 4 or 5 years in the state legislature has been they've been increasingly loosening up on the landlord criteria. And I don't get the weeds here, but this is something that the county planning directors around the state have been kind of pounding the table on for a long time, because under the GMA, right, it's rural development is extremely restricted. And we are not allowed to do much out there. So, and that's starting to have economic repercussions, right? And so we've been working with the legislators to start to ease up some of those landlord restrictions and allow a little bit more growth inside those, what they're called logical outer boundaries. Expanding them is much more problematic politically, but allowing more diverse development inside those areas is something that we have been able to get some movement on with the state legislators. So, and we'll continue to do that. And you're seeing a lot of some growth in Glacier, right? Obviously, it's tourism oriented community, but it brings money in, it brings dollars in. But Columbia Valley is the only UGA in the East County, so that's what we're at least trying to make sure there's adequate commercial land, vacant land available. We want to make sure now that there's some commercial, some vacant industrial land available for development, and then work on the sewer and water issues with those special service districts up there.
Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, so listening to Director Pasanis, it sounds like what I'm proposing is compatible with what staff is already working on, so I don't see there's any conflict there. The main thing I was trying to do from here is to strike this idea that we're sort of limiting employment to resource-based and knowledge-based industries, because I don't think either of them are practical out there. And what's more practical is to provide the land base to let the market decide what work those people can do based on their skill set.
Did you have more comments?
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, when you use the term nearby land, it does imply within the constraints of the GMA, because there's not a lot we can do, but we can do some things. So that's, I think, how I would interpret that policy.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hanson.
Microphone, Jim.
Yeah. Given that this really is something we're talking about in chapter 2, I think I could support it if we took out by rezoning nearby land suitable, because it's like we say, there's only that one UGA, and this sounds like we're talking about the entire East County, but the enhancing the environment for attracting employment for companies who need the skills already possessed does seem sensible. So I would support it if we just strike the by rezoning nearby land suitable.
Commissioner Dunn.
I would oppose that amendment, Jim, just because I think that's the whole goal of RUD's change, is that we want to make it so that the land is available for businesses to come in and do whatever it is they feel like they could do in that area.
Any other comments? Cindy, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Greg,
Yes.
Hanson,
No,
Bossari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Abstain.
Barton,
Yeah.
passes.
Up again.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
All right, policy, this is again on policy on page 711. It would be 7, 11, 13. So we have currently the proposed language, because this is new language, is to encourage Bellingham Technical College, Whatcom Community College and University to develop training programs in the rapidly growing renewable energy industries. And I'm proposing to say that, to change that, the last words to the rapidly growing alternative home technology industries. And that's my motion, and I'll explain the logic.
Second.
Okay. So the logic is simply that renewable energy, this is not actually a great place to do renewable energy development, because again, we have those places that build that stuff are very large. They're 1,000 acres at a time, sort of thing. What we do need, and what the opportunity is, to use intellectual property or intellectual skills, is the rapidly growing development of alternative home technologies, and that includes things like 3D printing of houses. I don't know if any of you have seen that, but that's quite interesting. So that's what I'd rather focus on as a community. I think it's a better use of our resources.
Commissioner Eisenberg.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Commissioner Rudd on this one, especially since I am in the alternative home construction industry. And because Bellingham Technical College and Whatcom Community Colleges are overseen by a different system, the SBCTC system, and how you pass through training programs, I think it might be a little bit difficult for Western Washington that's accredited through the NCCAU to get that. However, if Rudd, if you would, dance with me on this instead of encourage Bellingham Technical, maybe support emerging curriculum instead of encourage, because right now the state of California, I'm heading down there in a little bit to talk at their Climate Futures Conference for Workforce Development Ready. And West LA's President College, Jim, has mentioned that community and technical colleges are best suited for this because they can actually pass through their curriculum committees faster than 4 years. So, Red, I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'm absolutely going to support this policy amendment for alternative home construction technology, since even though we might not agree that this is not a good place for renewable energy, I would politely show you some data that says we're actually really suited well for renewable, like wind, solar, and especially community solar or other ways like geothermal and wave energy due to our tides. So yeah, I support this policy. I'm going to vote on it. And I would also just suggest other words, including implement or develop and implement curriculum, since that is already happening at the state level for the SBCTC system.
Commissioner Gray.
I'd be curious if folks would support just scrapping this policy entirely. I don't know that it really needs to be here. We're encouraging 3 other educational institutions to focus on one particular area when they have an entire team's worth of people that are spending every single waking day trying to figure out what they should be teaching their students to best prepare them for the workforce. So I think by the minute we pass this, it's basically out of date. So if folks are interested, I would definitely entertain a motion just to scrap 7A13.
Commissioner Hanson.
Jim, hello.
yes, I could support scratching it. but if we don't scratch it, I wouldn't want to limit it to only applying to this very good alternative home construction movement, but I wouldn't want to limit it to that. So I would probably just rapidly growing industries, including alternative home construction technologies, so not to edge any of the other ones out.
Commissioner Ferry.
Yeah, my comment's along the same as Jim's. I was gonna say, I think you can add this in and you don't need to eliminate the renewable energy industry from the line item either. I mean, I think the idea is just to have us be on the cutting edge of what the new technologies and industries are going to be, right? I don't think we need to pick all the winners and losers right now.
Commissioner Dunn.
What about something like support Bellingham Technical College, Whatcom College, or Western, to develop training programs in rapidly growing industries such as alternative home construction technology and renewable energy?
Jim likes it.
Jim likes it. Excellent. I like it.
Or what
Likes it.
were you suggesting a change on the first word?
I was, yeah, I think, Sunita had used a different word at the very beginning there instead of encourage. Sunita, you said something like support or something?
No, I said develop. So I'm just going to make another case from the National Academy of Science and Medicine and Math of talking about when we have a lack of knowledge and implementation gap, we're doing a disservice to the next generation. So I would not encourage us to scrap this policy and add the alternative home technology, because if we do develop the curriculum or micro certificates, which is very easy to get on any technical college or community college system, we can then have a workforce training ready student population that's ready to go into those fields. So develop, analyze, develop, and design. So develop and design training programs is, you can use either word, develop or design, I don't care.
And Commissioner Eisenberg, we just need to get this straightened out. I think, so it's after Western Washington University, encourage and develop?
Develop and design, because you can use pilot grant funding.
Design.
Yep, develop and design.
I think it's going after, on the second line at the end.
After Western Washington University, to develop, design, and what?
I think it's
Thanks.
develop design training programs. Is that, reflect what you were?
Correct. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
So,
Is that what everybody was looking for there?
and then add renewable energy. Let's see.
And
Dan, where did you have?
yeah, so I had, the last little bit was, programs in rapidly growing industries such as alternative home construction technology and renewable energy.
And
And
Is everybody fine with how that's going?
well, everybody but Nick.
Oh. This doesn't have his hand up. Okay, thank you. Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah,
passes.
go ahead, Commissioner Brown. Oh, excuse me,
You guys,
Commissioner Brown, pause just for a moment. Commissioner Eisenberg's hand just popped up on the screen.
Yeah, my mom just revived in Nepal, and I just have to make a quick phone call. So I'm going to step out of this room and come back into the meeting in 5 minutes. Sorry.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Eisenberg. Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
well, first off, I hope you're getting tired of the sound of my voice, because I'm getting tired of the sound of my voice.
Almost 9.
So, okay, so next one is 7 on page 712. You go all the way down to the area that's been struck out in red, and then it starts with new red that says the ability of Whatcom County to bring high wage jobs to the community depends on leveraging the significant expertise of our community and our willingness to. Right. Yeah, that's it. So, and if you stop at the word willingness to, and then strike everything from allocate to meaningful impact. And then my proposal is to add the words to eliminate the significant barriers we have created to building affordable new homes and establishing shovel-ready industrial land, which are preventing our other economic development initiatives from having a meaningful impact. So I'm not quite sure what you adding that now. I see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, probably get rid of the first two. That's right. Yeah, and the logic is to this. So there's my motion. If I have a second, I'll explain.
Do we have a second to the motion? Commissioner Brown, do you want to explain why you made that motion?
Yeah, we don't. The county doesn't need to be allocating additional financial resources for economic development initiatives. What we need to do is address the two elephants in our community, which is a lack of housing and a lack of land to support industry.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Commissioner Dunn, seconded. Discussion, Commissioner Matherick?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. I agree with your point compared to what's there, but how many times now do we have the same sentence in here? And it's gonna end up in the document. I just don't want it to end up feeling a little redundant and out of place. And maybe you want it to feel a little redundant so that people don't forget about it.
Well, if I can respond. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is a risk of it being redundant, Dominic. That's a relevant point. But if you look at what I'm cutting out, I think I'm cutting out redundancy of statements that sort of direct our attention to other areas that we should be focusing on for economic development. And I really think it just boils down to two things that we don't do well. We don't build housing and we don't create land for industry. And a lot of the comprehensive plan points in sort of different directions. And I'm trying to get the reader to understand that we need to, for the next 20 years, we really need to focus on two things if we want the economy to be strong.
Commissioner Dunn?
Tyler, I got a question for you. In your industrial lands report, if I read it correctly, you said that we have plenty of industrial land theoretically, but the land we have is not the right land, that it's too far away from the freeway, or it's not serviced, or it's not, there's infrastructure issues or things like that. Was that the correct takeaway from your report?
Yeah, in a general sense, that's accurate. Yeah.
Okay. And then Tyler, are there other things besides affordable housing and industrial lands that you would feel like you'd want to spend, but or this community should spend money on to attract business and retain business here? Or are those two things are the main things?
I would, let's see. I would say that those are the two most influential issues as of today. And the industrial lands report provides the information and details on some high level strategies to try to make industrial lands more available. There are some recommendations in that report, and I'm going to city councils, the county council, and planning commission to be able to go a little bit more into detail on that. But as I indicated earlier, as I stepped into the economic development role, I wanted to focus on commercial land availability for manufacturing and industrial because of my knowledge of all the points that Commissioner Brown has been speaking about today, that there really isn't the land available. And so let's strategize on how to do that before we really focus on all the other items that economic development can focus on. So yeah, I would support that those are the two main issues.
Commissioner Dunn.
So maybe beat people over the head with industrial land and affordable housing is an okay thing.
Yeah, and you know what it comes down to, and I spoke to this at the Bellingham City Council when I gave the report on the industrial land study. If we just focus on affordable housing and we don't focus on the living wage jobs, the inequality and wage gap is just going to continue to be there. So we do have to start to focus on both, and it becomes a balance between that. And as we focus on the industrial lands, I think our community has all the other resources to be attractive for business expansion, retention, and recruitment. But without those lands, we're behind the eight ball.
Commissioner Hanson.
Just want to make sure we're talking about 7-12.
Well, it's page 7-12.
Coordination, cooperation, public-private, that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, bottom.
Good, because that's what my comments are on, but sometimes it seems like well, part of it why it's challenging to discuss this is because we're combining, well, what you're putting in there is combining issues about two things. One is economic development, and the other one is housing affordability. And I know that you consider housing affordability as an economic development issue, but when we talk about significant barriers, it gives the impression that there are things that we can do that are appropriate that will lower the cost of housing. Now, there may be some things that in terms of streamlining permits and creating mitigation banks, there should be some things that we can do that actually will facilitate potentially more affordable housing, though whether cost savings go to create more affordability or more profit is always a question. But when I see housing costs and the discrepancy between our median income and the median cost of housing that was brought up last meeting, I think we give ourselves the wrong impression when we think that somehow there's some simple barriers that we created that we can take down that will solve this problem, because it's a systemic demographic problem of income disparities, that we have people coming in with more money than the people who are already here, and they're buying up property and they're raising the price of property. And I don't think that we can eliminate barriers to get out of that problem. And I think it's the wrong impression to say that we can. So, and also I think there's a challenge to not get into the trap of thinking that somehow we can further externalize development costs in the name of more affordable housing, because a cost is a cost. It just depends on who bears it. So if the taxpayers are paying more for infrastructure, or they're paying more for mitigations, what have you, so that the developer does not have that cost, it doesn't mean that it isn't a cost. So all along, I've been trying to fight that tendency to have that simplistic vision that there's something magical we can do to suddenly make housing more affordable. and I don't want to have that impression in this document. So for that reason, I oppose having the affordable family housing stuck in here, though I am supportive of things that we can do to create more job development, as long as they don't sacrifice the environment and as long as they don't overburden the taxpayer at the expense of the developer.
Commissioner Brown.
I think Dominic had his hand up first.
I just wanted to make sure, Eileen, there's a little bit more, right? Have the shovel ready for the motion.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good catch, Dominic.
Commissioner Hanson.
Sorry, I had my say.
Okay. And Commissioner Brown, did you have more to say?
Yeah, I think, Jim, I think if there's one, if we break it down to one focal point for why housing is expensive anywhere, it's about the disconnect between supply and demand. When there is adequate supply or a surplus, the price of housing goes down. When there's an inadequate supply and a shortage, the price of housing goes up. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking Bellingham or Brussels or Brisbane, Australia. It's the same rule. So whatever we can do to increase the supply of housing will, at first, it will stop the rise in cost, and then it will cause the price to the degree that we have a surplus, the prices will actually start coming down. So how you can increase the supply is a complex issue, but I would put it in that one bucket as the number one thing you can do, that we can do in 100 different ways. So.
Commissioner Dunn.
Can we throw an S after depend? This depends on. Up just a little bit. Yeah, right there.
Any more comments, questions? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
I don't know, Eisenberg's back. Eisenberg,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
I'm gonna have to abstain because I wasn't here for the whole part of it.
Okay, thank you. Greig,
Yes.
Hanson,
No,
Barton,
Yeah.
passes.
Did you change high wage to?
Yes. I saw that.
Go ahead, Commissioner Eisenberg.
And since I didn't hear a lot of that conversation, I just heard that supply and demand and housing. I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't the only reason why that wasn't enough, because it does. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why affordable housing isn't just a supply and demand. So I just wanted to make that hopefully on the record, that it also talks, housing as a human right versus wealth inequality versus land scarcity. There's a lot of reasons, and Civic Commons in Seattle has done a really great work in our state to highlight what those non just supply and demand reasons are for why we have a very big gap in our housing affordability. So I just wanted to name it in case anyone wants to look up Civic Commons and their house equity. It's a great tool that talks a little bit more about non-supply and demand factors of why we have a housing crisis and affordability.
Right, thank you. Commissioner Dunn.
Nope.
Sorry,
Brown.
Commissioner Brown.
Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead a bit. Let's go to policy. No, actually, I'll stick to the sequence. So page 714, under infrastructure, it starts off with, despite the many natural advantages for economic growth in Whatcom County, several factors constrain. And I was proposing that we, after the word constrain, insert the word potential economic development. And then after Arlene's done that, and then the factors is the lack of adequate infrastructure for future industrial development. That's already there. And after those words, I was proposing this includes a lack of access to power, water, sewer, stormwater, internet utilities, which I think is already in there. Yeah. After that was the word and an adequate supply of shovel-ready buildable land for workforce housing and industrial.
I've heard that before.
I'm an active gavel myself.
But really always that is after Amy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think you got it.
Any comments, questions? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
We don't have a
We
second.
don't have a
Oh,
second.
sorry.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a second.
Beat that dead horse right to the ground.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Commissioner McCary.
potential economic development was already
Yeah,
in there,
yeah.
so you don't need to add it again.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Which one? This one?
Go.
Yeah, so you added that one.
It's already there. It's a new thing.
Now I should ask any discussion. All right, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Eisenberg,
Yes. Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Hanson,
Abstain.
Mosseri,
Yes,
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah,
passes.
All right. I'm gonna jump forward to the last one because the second last one probably will take more time. So on page 720, 7G7, I propose adding to the end of that after the word biofuels by repeating myself again with the words by ensuring there is adequate affordable workforce housing and shovel-ready industrial land, etc.
Shelter right. Let's have one more time. We're laughing with you, Rudd.
You can laugh at me if you want. A lot of people do. So.
No, we're good.
do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Gray,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
no,
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah,
passes.
All right. Eileen, it might be easier if you could paste the next one in, which is on 719. I think you've got the language written down.
Yes.
Just might be quicker to do that, so we can all read at the same time.
After community. Time. Yep.
All right, you got it all? All right, so I've added first a couple of words, changed the word actually, look at find what I changed. Sorry.
And there's. Argue.
Okay. So I added the language to this that says at the end of after the word community, it says forcing people to forego affordable family housing by using habitat protections as a justification for preventing development will likely prove to be an unsustainable public policy to future generations of voters. Mindful that laws made by one generation can be overturned by the next, the willingness of future generations to maintain current critical areas protections will depend on our success at finding ways to meet their needs for affordable single-family housing where kids can thrive in harmony with our natural environment. That's my motion, and it's a complex issue and I can explain it.
I'll second.
Okay. So in simple terms, it's this: is my entire business career, my entire political career, I've sat in the middle of two opposing forces that some say there should be no rules for environmental protection, as economic development should come first, and some say there should be no rules other than environmental protections which have to come first. And the problem is if you don't address both the needs of both groups, you end up with one group being in control for a period of time, as we're frankly seeing at the moment at the federal level, that undoes the work of what the previous group did. And I just believe we have to work to find a balance. Because I'm a very strong believer in environmental protections. I've spent my entire life doing that. But I'm also a very strong believer in making sure that the system works for those who frankly have the ability to vote against the environmental protections if their needs are not met. So I just want to bring to the forefront that we have to be mindful of both needs. That's the logic behind this.
Are there any comments? Commissioner Dunn?
I hear your feeling, Rudd, and I would say I agree with you that there's a need for that balance between sort of environmental considerations and then development. I feel like the language here is a little too aggressive for me. And so I probably wouldn't, I support your idea. I probably wouldn't support this particular language though.
And the reason I chose that language because of what was preceding it. So, because so that was why I don't disagree with you in a way, Dan, but that was why I took a bit of an aggressive tone, because that was the underlying tone I thought of the rest of this. So there had to be, I just felt there had to be a bit of pushback. So anyway, that's the logic behind it.
Commissioner Masseri?
Yeah, just because we're here, I think there's a typo after, you go down below the paragraph you just put in, there's tourism industry and relies. Should there be on after relies? The tourism industry relies on these attributes.
Yep.
Is there any more discussion on this? Commissioner Hanson?
Well, I guess a problem I have with this is that the affordable single-family housing is a myth, that's planning for the past. We had a presentation a couple of meetings ago in which it indicated that in the future, most people will live in apartments, that high to moderate income people will live in townhouses and duplexes, and only wealthy people will be able to afford to live in single-family houses. And that's a land scarcity issue. So although I'm totally in favor of affordable housing, I don't want to support an ongoing myth that in the future that will all be like the Ozzie and Harriet with their little family houses, single family houses. I think the affordable housing we should be supporting is multi-family housing. And I think we need lots of that for rentals and for people to buy. And I don't want to perpetuate this myth that it's appropriate to have that for the future, because the issue isn't an affordability, it's of citing appropriate sites and appropriate densities. And we can't, I think under state law, and which Rudd thinks will eventually be changed, we can't really sacrifice our environmental quality that is our foundation of our prosperity to somehow believe that we can build our way out. We need to build our way up. So I oppose this strongly.
Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, I want to make it clear, I don't believe we should be sacrificing our environmental quality. I just think we've got to follow the spirit of the GMA, which says you have to cater for the GMA is made up of, if I remember correctly, 14 things of equal value. There's not one dominates the other. And when one dominates the other, then you end up with real tensions in the community as a whole. As far as single family housing, I don't have a problem with a student, a single person, someone who's retired and their family have left home. I don't have a problem with those people living in apartments and townhouses, as the case may be. But I grew up in a single family house. I think pretty much I'd be surprised if there's anybody here who didn't, when they were a kid, didn't grow up in a single family house. Unless you grew up in a place like New York City or something. And I think that's the right environment for kids to grow up, is single family housing with a yard, with the ability to hang out with the neighbor kids and so forth. I think it's if we tell the next generation, hey, you want to have kids, bring them up in a big multifamily complex, they won't have kids. And maybe that's what people want, but I want to see more children in the community. I don't want to make it so unpleasant to raise kids that we just say, people just give up. So,
Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, I totally agree with Commissioner Brudd's aspirations, because I grew up in a single family home in the 50s. But what you have to realize is that period, that post-war period, was a period of the greatest prosperity for working and middle class people in the history of the world. And it was in this country, and we enjoyed that privilege. But since then, the wealth of this country has been systemically redirected from the hands of the people who generate it, the working people, the hardworking people, the tax laws and other laws that systemically redirected wealth in this country into the hands of a very, very few people. And that's part of why we're in this situation. And that's part of why it's so expensive, relatively expensive to buy a house, is because of redistribution of wealth. So we're stuck in this paradigm. I've been trying to fight against it, and I'm fighting for tax reform. But in the meantime, we shouldn't kid ourselves to think that we can go back to the 50s or the 60s and plan for that for our future. I think we have to realistically plan for a future that's going to be far different.
Any other comments? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Hanson,
No.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
No.
Eisenberg,
No.
Greif,
No.
Barton,
Yes.
Bales.
I am done, and I'm sure you're done with me as well.
Well, I've got I'm totally in admiration of the hard work you put into promoting your vision. I totally respect you for that.
Well, thank you, Jim. I've been accused of a lot of things, and one of the things I don't get accused of is not reading the materials.
So, can, are there any kind of motions? What that,
Any other motions?
I'm not gonna make a motion, I just wanted to answer something. I didn't want to answer in line with the motion. But I wanted to, if you can indulge me for a minute or two. My wife and I were really poor. Our first house was brand new. And it was in a development where they went with curb and gutter and no sidewalk. Which we talked about, how do we reduce the cost? And then we do, not us as the planning commission, but as a society, we say, well, you gotta have sidewalks, which has a lot of money to it. And it was the kind of neighborhood you want to have kids in, and there's no through traffic all the way through it. And it was curb and gutter, and the kids ran all over the place. But it made a less expensive house, and being able to buy that house for us really helped our economic well-being all the way through, to now. And so when we talk about things that can be done, that's one of the things that really bothers me, is forcing sidewalks in a community that doesn't need it when you can go curb and gutter, which is a lot less money. I just wanted to say that because we keep talking about it, and we say things, we can't fix it and things like that. Well, we can fix some things. And I'd like to see us do that. So that's enough. I just appreciate your letting me talk. So, okay, anything else?
Can we make a motion to pass this on? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion to pass this on.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pass it on, to approve it. Is there any discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yeah.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
And new homes, there, wrong with it, you put your own. Okay, any other business? All right, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Ron.
Phil.
Thank you, guys.
See you all later.
See ya, April.